When you play a regular open E chord, the low note E is the open string, which is the 6th string. So that's kind of what we call the root note of the chord. The concept of this root note is that if we move a chord and it doesn't use any open strings, the chord has a root note and that becomes the name of the chord. So this chord here, where we moved E up 1 fret and put the bar down to make F, the reason that that chord is called F is because the root note, the note underneath your first finger, is the note F. Now if we think about where the other notes are on the 6th string, say the 3rd fret of the 6th string is the note G. So if we put down our bar chord shape, the same one that we were just talking about now, but now at the 3rd fret, the note underneath the first finger, 3rd fret, 6th string, is the note G, so it becomes a G chord. And then if we move it up another 2 frets, it becomes the note A, so this becomes A bar chord. And you can hear these things if you test them. It's quite a nice thing to listen to, is the G at the 3rd fret, bar chord, and then G open chord. Very, very similar chords. An A chord with open A. That's A at the 5th fret. They sound slightly different, of course. It's a different voicing or a different grip of the chord, but it's the same, essentially the same chord. So it's a good idea that you hear that. Now, there's also a few very, very common variations of this E shape. We've just been talking about E major, and that's definitely the first one that you should try and get down. But after that, you can also learn minor, dominant 7th, and minor 7. Dominant 7th, of course, is sometimes just called 7. So we're going to go back to another close-up now, if I can get my little remote going, and then we'll check out what these other variations are on the E bar chord shape. Okay, here we are now. This is up at the 5th fret, and I'm holding this chord down. This would be an A bar chord, A major, just very often referred to as just A bar chord. Now, the first variation that you want to learn of this, or the first kind of way of changing this into another chord, is by lifting off the 2nd finger will get us an A minor chord. Just the same as when you had an E open chord and you lifted off your 1st finger, you got an E minor chord. With this chord, we started with A. If we lift off the 2nd finger, we get A minor bar chord. Obviously, it might help if you can hear it. There's the major. Lift off that 2nd finger, you've got the minor. Now you can see that my 2nd finger is kind of lending a little bit of assistance there to the 1st finger. It's completely cool for that one to sit on top there a bit. It does make it a lot easier to hold the bar down. I don't recommend that you only learn that way, but particularly when you start, you might want a little bit of assistance, or if the action's high on your guitar and you need to press the strings down pretty hard, rather, that can be a bit of an advantage. So there we've got major. Lift off the 2nd finger, minor. Now if we go back to major for a second, and we lift off little finger, we end up with A7. Just again, if you think back to E chord, if you have a regular E chord and you lift it off your 3rd finger, you'd end up with E7. So the same shape applies up here. So this is A, lift off little finger, and you've got A7. Now you can combine those two things, which was lifting off 2nd finger to get minor, lifting off little finger to get 7, and you get minor 7. A minor 7. So major, lift off 2nd finger rather, is minor, lift off little finger is A7, lift off 2nd finger and little finger, and you get A minor 7. So there you go, that's the 4 common E shape bar chord forms: major, minor, 7, and minor 7. So you definitely want to check those things out. Remember that they all move. So that was A7 with little finger off. If I move it up 1, it's B flat 7. And if I move it up again, it's B7. You got it? They all move around as much as you like. This is a pretty weird one. I'm not trying to show off my t-shirt, and I'm not trying to look like I'm chopping my own head off. I just want to talk a little bit about this part of your arm and how it sits for your bar chord. So right now I'm holding an A bar chord, and you can see here that this joint here from my forearm into my hand is quite straight along here. A lot of people, when they start their bar chords, they try and do this, so that in order to try and make their first finger straight here, they're trying to straighten their whole hand, and they put a really big kink in their hand there, and that's kind of bending in the wrong place. If you keep your first finger straight, of course, if you think about it, instead of, to make your first finger straight, you could either do that and bring your whole hand up, or you could just bend your fingers up and keep this part of your hand straight, which is a lot better. You've got all of the muscles that control your fingers are in your forearm. They're up here. You can see them wiggling around when you move your fingers. And they're controlled by tendons, which run down the back of your fingers, down into your forearm there. And if your wrist is locked like that, it's not very good for the tendons. They tend to rub, and it can kind of lead to RSI, and I think it's called carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm not a doctor, but this is just I'm not a doctor, but I'll have a look at it for you. But the idea, yeah. So this is what I've heard about this carpal tunnel is caused often by the wrist being too locked up like this. So try and make sure when you're playing your bar, if you find that your wrist is forward like that, try and concentrate on flattening that part of your wrist out and making sure that you're bending. It's not perfectly flat, but it's pretty close to flat. That's my bar chord shape there. You can see it's pretty straight. Yeah. So yeah, just be aware of that. Also be aware of this. A lot of people do this when they try and play bar chords. They stick their elbow right out like this. It looks kind of funny. I call it chicken wings. So just be aware of that. If you find that your elbow's looking a bit uncomfortable, or you've got a lot of tension in your shoulder, try and imagine that your fingers are stapled or nailed onto the guitar neck, and then just relax your forearm. So it's because it really should be, even though, look, I'm playing the chord, this is really completely loose there. It's not even slightly tense. So you want to think about that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, my first solo installment, and that it makes sense and it's helping you with your E-shape bar chords. I'm planning on doing all of the other bar chords as well, the A-shape and C-shape and those kind of interesting caged ones as well. But I thought I'd start off with this and see how long it takes me to edit it. I'm still a bit slow on the iMovie, but practice makes perfect. Hey, you all know about that, as I do as well. So, yeah, hope you have fun, and I always kind of get stuttery at the end. It's really funny. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. There's the t-shirt close-up for any of you that missed it.